I'm going to start by assuming that you have a flat tire and that you've already removed the wheel with the flat tire from your bicycle. Before we begin, an overview of the terminology I'll use. The entire unit is the wheel. Important parts: the tire, the rim which holds the tire, the spokes, the tube inside the tire. The reason that you have a flat is because the tube inside your tire has a puncture in it. You inflate your tube using a valve stem that sticks through a hole in your rim. That hole in the rim is an important reference point, so I've marked it on my rim with some pink tape. Step 1, get your tools ready. The first 3 things I'm going to mention are things you should always carry with you when you're out on the road. 2 plastic tire levers with a scoop on one end and a hook on the other, a portable air pump, and a spare tube. The next things are nice to have if you're fixing a flat at home: a little bit of baby powder, a pen, and a floor pump. Step 2, release any air from your tire. You may not have air in it because it's flat, but in case you do, unscrew the valve stem and press up lightly to release any remaining air. Step 3, remove one side of the tire wall from the rim. The cool thing is that you don't have to actually remove the entire tire from the rim, just one side. Start opposite the valve. Take one of your tire levers on the scoop end and scoop underneath the inside lip of the tire called the bead. Pull it out over the edge of the rim. Hook the other end of the lever onto your spoke and take a second lever and work to the right around the rim, releasing the tire from the edge of the rim. Step 4, remove the tube and identify the cause of the flat. Start at the valve stem. Push the valve up so that you can get the tube out from the tire. Once you get the valve through, it should be pretty easy just to pull the tube out. From here, I recommend inflating the tube just a little bit so that you get enough air in so you can hear the location of the hole in the tube. Let's just say, for the sake of time, that we did that and we found that the hole was about 6 inches from the valve stem. Use your pen and mark the hole with an X. This helps you for 2 things. 1, you can identify the location of the hole later and patch it up when you have time to let your patch glue dry. Second, you can use the relationship between the valve stem and the hole as a relative reference to identify the general location of the puncture in the tire itself. Just match the valve stem up to the hole in the rim, and you'll see about 6 inches from that location should have been the general location where the puncture occurred in the tire. Take a look at the tire there and make sure there isn't anything poking through, like a piece of glass or a staple. If there is, remove it. And this is a good opportunity to work your way around the full circumference of the tire and just make sure that there isn't anything poking through that would cause a puncture in your new tube. Step 5, gently inflate your spare tube and insert it in the tire. In the interest of time, I've already inflated this. The important thing to know is not to overinflate the tube, just a few pumps to give it a bit of definition. One thing I like to do is put just a little bit of baby powder around the tube to reduce friction between the tube, the tire, and the rim. Just put a little bit in my hand and sort of work my hand around the circumference of the tube. So you want to start at the hole in the rim, start at the valve stem, and stick it into the rim perpendicularly, and then wrap the top part of the tube up into the tire. From there, I like to lay the wheel set down and slowly push the tube into the tire. So the hardest part is just here at the end when you're putting the final bit of tube into the tire. If you find that the tube is too long, you can just go and release just a little bit of air and you should be able to fit it inside the tire. Step 6, put the tire wall back inside the rim. Start at the valve stem and start to just push the bead of the tire into the rim. As you do that, push the entire tire down to create slack on the other end as you work your way around the tire. I like to work a little bit on the right and a little bit on the left. Work your way around each side of the rim, and the hardest part is when you have just a few inches remaining. So here's where it requires a little bit of thumb strength. You want to push the bead up and over the edge of the rim. You could use your tire levers for this, but it's best to avoid it if you can because it's very easy to puncture or pinch your tube in between the tire and the rim. So just use your thumbs to push up and over, try really hard to make sure that the tube doesn't get pinched. And finally, you should be able to get the entire tire seated within the rim. Step 7. Fully inflate your tire, put your wheel back on your bike, and start riding.